As Mike knows, I had a hard time writing the speech. There was so much that I could say in so little time. But I hope each of you guys find something in what I have to say today. First of all, I'd like to let you know that I'm honored to be in the presence of such wonderful people this evening who have dedicated their lives to social justice, especially the one that unites us all here today. I'd like to share with you this evening a little bit about what initially brought me to the doors of IFPB, how I boarded on a journey that opened my heart through what I saw with my eyes, and how now I finally have a passport to advocate for justice based on firsthand experiences. My narrative, in fact, the majority of narratives of Arab Americans is quite simple. Jews don't like us, and we sure as hell don't like them. Why? Because they have taken our land. Simple? Right. Sure, until you grow up and you start shouting in rallies, "Free, free Palestine," and realize the words flowing out of your mouth are as shallow as the stares of bystanders gazing upon you. As we come upon the 3rd-year anniversary of the Gazan war, I'm reminded of when I came to the realization that I was ignorant about the plight of my own people. Days after the war ended, a peaceful demonstration was held by Texans for Israel, protesting Obama's support for Palestinians during the war. I stood amongst my counterparts, protesting with my hatha wrapped around my neck, a sign waving in the air with the words of white phosphorus smeared across, and words of anger spewing out of my mouth: "War criminals." As the crowd got heated, I too got heated, and even before my mind could process what I said, I replied to a statement the speaker said about America's continued support of Israel. I shouted, "Not anymore," referring to our newly elected president's then promising words. After the protest, a few students from the Palestinian Solidarity Committee hung around along with students from Texans for Israel. Ironically, discussions started taking place. Everyone around me was having civil discourse. But as I made my rounds over and over, I heard people say, "I have been to Israel." That is not true. I finally was confronted by 3 individuals, one of which was talk about her Israeli boyfriend, an IDF soldier, who said all these accusations were false. To her, a comforting truth. She spoke of how she had been to Israel, as the 2 guys next to her nodded, and saw how civil her people are. In a moment of frustration, I stated, "Well, I've been to Israel," which was not true. I lied. I lied out of frustration. I lied because I too wanted the privilege of somehow beating someone in a debate by saying my eyes have seen the truth, even if somehow it had been a one-sided blurred truth. I lied because my entire life the Palestinian stereotype was that they are too hard-headed, too used to heartache, too unready to let go to make peace. I lied because I was tired of people telling me what Palestine and Israel was like. I lied because I wanted to understand the conflict so badly, and no book, no article, nobody could explain to me why I was there shouting on the top of my lungs for a cause that I did not fully understand. I have been carrying this burden of that lie. I'm not good at lying, if you guys know me, until I no longer had to. Going on the PP delegation, I buried the lie alongside the guilt that I felt from not understanding the plight of my own blood. I touched down in the Holy Land this summer with my ears open to the tales of people who have undergone much hardship. Waking up to calls of morning prayers, seeing devout Jews slip their wishes in the crevices of the Wailing Wall, the Balata camps filled with excitement of children lighting up fireworks to celebrate their exam scores. This summer, my feet touched that soil that has been blessed and torn by history. I would tell you 1,001 tales of my experience, except Mike is standing right there. So tonight I will share with you a story of 2 women that touched my heart. 2 strong women who set fear aside to overcome their circumstances. The first woman was a Palestinian woman, Iyad's wife. After her own frustration with the aggressiveness of the IDF soldiers in the peaceful protest in Belaim to move the wall, she stood heroically in front of bulldozers and Israeli army. She said at that moment she had no fear because she knew that they could do nothing. She said, "I am a woman." Imagine that. And the second woman is a woman from Saradot who told us stories of the terror that she lived in and day out during the intifadas, where 60 rockets would hit their town each day, making an innocent victim out of whoever was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Sirens, bomb shelters encompassed her life, wrapped in fear of tragedy that would strike her neighbor, her child, or her. After all this, she decided the same terror she lives in must be felt by those living across the wall. She reached out and started talking to her neighbors, meeting with her Gazan counterparts. These women are inspiring their abilities to overcome fear to find their own justice. Each of these women represents something different going on in Palestine and Israel today. One, a nonviolence movement. Another, the art of dialogue and rehabilitating a torn nation. Dr. Saeed, who was on the delegation with us, could not have said it better. I left this trip feeling our biggest objective, as he would say, is beginning to acknowledge one another's pain. But for that to truly happen, we need to understand one another's plight. This journey to the Holy Land gave me that opportunity. With all due respect, the time up for peace in the Middle East will be something my generation is dedicated to seeing through. And with all the graciousness, it is thanks to people like you, people like Joe Groves, who have helped pave the way for us to do this. But without these trips, people like myself won't get the opportunity to come back and make the changes needed to see this through. The IFPB scholarship gave me an opportunity to educate myself and provides me with a window to educating others. The New Generation Fund is not simply another donation. It is an investment in peace, in coexistence, in educating my generation about the plight of people, and reminding them that it coexists of two narratives, and to attain it, we must understand both of them. I just want to leave all of you tonight with a little food for thought after our wonderful meal. As we sit here comfortably at our tables, living lives of some stability, knowing that at any moment our loved ones can be by our side, that war will always be over there, that fear does not occupy our minds day in, day out, that you two sitting in this chair could have been them. You could have been the Palestinians in Hebron or the Jews in Saradot. Had fate changed the tables, you could have been on the other side of the fence. But instead, you have been handed a different passport, an American one, which means you could still reach the other side of the fence. We owe it to our brothers and sisters to fight for their peace, to help diminish their ignorance, to bring them to a table and fight for those who can't even dream of what we take for granted every day. With that said, I once again ask you to invest in our future. Because we see the light. We just need you to believe in us enough to pledge in giving us an opportunity to take the pilgrimage we need to make the difference that we can make. Thank you for your time. God bless, shalom, and salam.